I again want to thank you for your time, and I want to wrap it up so I don't take too much of it.
No, it's all great. Thanks so much for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Your wealth of knowledge. You got a lot of years of experience to share with people. So, speaking on that, I want to talk about you've met a lot of people and you've worked with a lot of people. I'm curious, and for the people that are listening, how would you recommend when an artist wants to work with another artist? Like, how do you make these connections, and how do you jump these bridges?
Okay, well, for me, it's always been just a very weird coincidence. It's somebody hears something that you've worked on, and then I've found that it's always through the artist. I've never had any luck getting to somebody through a manager or through an agent or through, you know what I mean? It's always the artist who hears something in what you do and goes, what would that be like? You know, with Collective Soul, they were working on a record at, what's that place in Miami? Famous studio. Can't think of the name of it right now. They changed it to the Hit Factory now. So it's like it used to, anyway, Criteria. So they were there working, and Bob St. John was mixing something, but one of the records I had done that year was Schizophonic by Nuno Betancourt from Extreme, his first solo record, which I co-produced and co-wrote a bunch of songs on, and it was really edgy, and for the time. And the lead singer, Ed Roland of Collective Soul, was a huge fan of that record. And then when Bob said that he knew me, he's like, "You know that guy?" He's like, "Well, I'd love to get him on one of our songs," Yeah. So that's how it happened. So I was working on another record up at Longview Farm in New England, and they sent me ADATs. That's what we were using back then. So they sent me 4 ADATs, and they said, just put down some stuff on there and see if Ed likes it. And I just put a bunch of stuff on there, sent it to him. He said, "Man, we love it, but I can't find the one." Because I have this prog rock nature. I said, "No problem, I can straighten it out for you." But that was their first impression of me. It's fantastic, but where's the one?
Yeah, I love that, man. That is so fun.
But anyway, so that's how that happened. So and with Duran, it was them hearing a cassette of me doing my performance art. Yeah. It's kind of just it's through the artist. I think I don't think it's very hard to approach a management or something and get something through.
Yeah. It sounds like it kind of all comes down to just being yourself and your creativity, and kind of putting your creativity out there, and through that it builds connections of, oh, have you heard this? Oh, so and so does this, and as it's also kind of like a long patience game to some degree, because
absolutely,
you met all these people because you met this person and then continued working, who knew this person, and they continued working, and it's just a spider web, but it takes time to build that spider web.
There's no shortcut to it. But one thing that I have to say that I think kids today in a lot of ways have it a lot tougher than I had, because back when I started working with loops and sequencing, it was fairly pioneer. It wasn't like 9 million people could do it in their bedroom. It's you had to have a serious investment, like a Linn drum machine. It took me years to pay that back. It was like you were all in, but there was not a million people doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So those who were committed and super into it it was easier for us to get recognized because there wasn't 9 million of us doing that.
That's a really interesting perspective, because a lot of people would argue the opposite, saying that because the barrier was so high to entry, that it kind of blocked a lot of people. No, I appreciate that as your perspective, because it's very contrary to a lot of people's perspective, and that's
I think maybe just for me, from my, with the performance art and how I did that and how that ended up being what connected, So you could look at it the other way too.
No, but I appreciate that fresh perspective, because so many people will be like, "Oh, it's so easy for these kids these days." But I would completely understand how you feel that way, and it's a very valid point.
I think one of the best things to end on is, this is the most important thing. If I'm scanning through like a bunch of profiles on Instagram, and I'm listening to people making beats, and I hear the same Circada Bug trap hi-hat and the same distorted 808 for 50 in a row, and the same auto-tune thing. There's not one compelling sample that makes me go, "Wow, this is cool." When I grew up, the object of the game was to stand out, not to blend in. Mm-hmm. And sometimes standing out has risks, but the risks are worth taking. If you want to get noticed, I think you need to take risks and stand out, because you're not going to get noticed in a scroll. of things that all sound the same.
That is
So
that's a great perspective.
That's my best advice to anybody is don't be afraid to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely, man.